The K9 stopped so hard the leash burned his glove. "Easy," the soldier breathed, but the dog wouldn't budge, eyes fixed on black water sliding under the bridge. The current hissed over rocks. Night swallowed the far bank. He swept the beam, reeds, driftwood, nothing. Until something thin cut through the rush. A cry. Faint. Child small. The soldier moved to the edge, rope bag in hand. "Talk to me. Where are you?" Wind shoved the answer downstream. The K9 leaned forward, trembling. The river rose another inch. The dog locked his front paws into the mud and leaned into the dark like the river had a pulse he could hear. "Ranger, heel." Nothing. The shepherd's body was a held note, ears pinned, tail a straight line, every muscle listening. The soldier followed the line of the dog's stare. Downstream, the old truss bridge threw a lattice of shadow over the water. The current ran fat and fast, snow melt upstream, rain all week. A smell of cold rock and wet iron rose off the surface. The soldier's breath steamed once, then blew apart in a gust cutting across the reeds. He'd meant to clear the riverwalk in 10 minutes. It was supposed to be a courtesy sweep while the county unit handled a fender bender on the highway. But the dog had taken one look at the black, moving sheet and braced. "Talk to me, boy. What do you have?" Ranger's nose feathered the wind. He stepped forward till his toes slipped under the skin of the water and stopped, vibrating like a wire. "Not fear, signal." The soldier slid his pack off one shoulder and set it on the gravel, throw rope bag, foil blanket, trauma kit, chem lights. He thumbed his radio, no chirp. The Ridge 8 signal like it always did. He scanned with the headlamp. Beam across the reeds, beer cans, an old tire, a snarl of driftwood jammed like ribs. Nothing moved that wasn't made to move by the current. He swept again, slower. Wind pushed back from downstream. With it, so faint it could have been the edge of night itself, came a sound. Not river. Not reeds. A cry. He straightened. "Hello?" Water hissed over rock. The cry didn't return. He waited, counting breaths, 1 Mississippi, 2. "Help!" This time it rode the wind clear, higher and thin, the sound cold makes when it squeezes a small chest. Ranger exploded in a bark that stung the soldier's ears and lunged to the right, dragging him 3 steps along the bank. "Hold!" He rode the leash, boots sliding, until they both stopped against a root and a shale ledge that fell away into the main channel. He snapped a glow stick and swung it in a slow arc over the water. The green halo skimmed the surface, showing nothing but a slick of fast silver. He fished the mini thermal from his chest pocket, brought it up. White river, black banks, then a smear at the edge of the frame, low and intermittent, like heat winking behind water. Again. "Call out," he shouted. Silence. Then, closer, downstream by the tangle of drift, "Here." The dog lunged that direction. The soldier let him pull until the leash line pointed their path. The bank gave under him, mud swallowing a boot. He yanked free, nearly went down, righted, and moved. A red cut in the beam made him stop, a strip of fabric snagged on the lower branches of the jam, flapping once, then slapping the water. He crouched. It wasn't random trash, it was a child's scarf, cheap knit, the little pom-poms matted with silt. "Got you," he breathed, to no one in the river both. He clipped the rope bag's carabiner to the bridge rail that reached this far on shore, a rusted bar good for one hard pull. He fed the throw line into his left hand, coiled what he needed, felt the bag's weight in the right. "Ranger, back." The dog slid behind his leg but refused to look away from the water. The soldier leaned out past the edge and swallowed metal taste. The main flow ran too heavy to wade. One step in and the river would take his legs like it had been waiting. He judged distance, 30 feet to the jam, a black tongue of current curling off its upstream face. If whoever cried out was pinned there, they had minutes, not an hour. "Hey! Can you hear me? Grab the rope when it hits you. I'm right here." Something answered that wasn't voice, 3 splashes in quick succession, not the rhythm of the current. Then a cough, small, which tore at him more than the cry had. You didn't cough like that unless water had already had its way with your lungs. He swung the bag once, twice, body remembering the motion from training yards in worse rivers than this, then sent it. The line hissed across the air. The weighted sack arced clean and slapped into the pool just shy of the jam. He stripped and slack, felt it load, then go light. Missed. Again, he told himself more than the night. He coiled fast, set his feet deeper, ignored the cold licking his shins where the water had found fabric, and threw harder. The bag rode the gust, then dropped, right into the chop against the wood. The line snapped taut. He braced. "Hold on." Hold, the command died as he felt nothing on the line but the pull of the river. No human weight. No desperate jerk. He stripped slack, tried to fish it against the branches, hoping for an arm, a hand, anything. The dog's bark detonated again. Ranger threw himself toward the waterline, 2 wild steps, and stopped at the exact same place he'd planted minutes earlier, toes wet, body trembling. He turned his head hard left, upstream this time, and growled a warning that vibrated the soldier's bones. "What do you have?" The soldier dragged the line back in, let the bag ride the eddy near his boots, and lifted the lamp to follow Ranger's stare. Something moved in the black cut of water just under the overhang, small, pale, gone. Then again. Not a full head, not a body, just the white of a hand lifting briefly above the slick, fingers splaying as water forced them flat. "Got you," he said again, a promise this time. He popped another chem light, clipped it to the rope line, and fed it back into the current, a neon breadcrumb the river couldn't swallow whole. "Listen to me," he shouted. "I'm throwing to you. When it touches you, wrap your arm, do not let go." The wind shoved his words downstream. The cold shoved at his knees, crueler than before. He took 1 step deeper, feeling for purchase with his boot until rock answered under mud. The dog leaned on his leg with his shoulder as if bracing the man would brace the river. A small voice, so small he had to bend toward the water to hear, came back. "Please. Keep talking," he said, steadying his breath so the steadiness traveled. "Say here. Every time you can." "Here," the voice said, thin, then coughed. The sound went through him like a blade. He swung the bag again, waited for the wind to still for half a second, and sent it. The chem light rode the line like a comet. It splashed beyond where the hand had flashed white, and the current pinned it into the overhang. He felt the line jump once, alive, then again. "I've got you," he said, setting his feet, lowering his center. The line loaded for real now. Not the slick, line pull of water, but human. Panic light. He leaned back and the world leaned with him. The anchor groaned. The bridge bar creaked a protest he didn't like the sound of. He widened his stance and gave the rope his back, hands locking in. The river tried to take them both. "Ranger, back." The dog slid behind and pushed his weight into the soldier's calf like a second anchor. The line jerked again, small, weak. He matched it with a steady reel, inch by inch. The cold bit through his pants. His hands burned. He kept talking because people in water stop moving when the world goes quiet. "Good, good, keep your arm through, yes, keep saying here." "Here," came the whisper, almost not there. The line surged, then went slack. The soldier nearly went over backward with the sudden lack of resistance. "No, no, no," he stripped rope furiously, eyes hunting the glow. The chem light bobbed, empty, drifting away from the overhang. The dog screamed, a sound he'd never heard from Ranger in all the years, then threw himself forward to that same exact tow line and refused to cross it. "Where?" the soldier shouted into dark. "Where?" The river answered with its old, patient song. And then, closer than it had ever been. "Here." He pivoted right, toward an eddy no wider than a door where the current should have starved. Something pale moved in its center and vanished again. He reset the rope with hands that refused to notice the cold and pulled all the air left in the night into his lungs. "Hold for me," he told the water, the dog, the unseen small life somewhere in the black. "Just hold." And then he stepped deeper. The soldier's boots sank another inch into the sucking mud as he leaned his full weight against the rope. "Hold," he barked, voice raw against the roar of current. His gloves bit into the line, the fibers vibrating with every surge of the river. Ranger braced against his calf again, body rigid, growled deep as if he too could fight the water by force of will. His paws dug trenches into the silt, but he did not move from that line he'd chosen. One more step and he knew the river owned it. The rope pulled hard, then slackened, then yanked sharp, erratic, panic on the other end. The soldier steadied his breath. "Listen. Don't fight me. Stay still. Let me pull." No answer, only another cough, wet and broken, carried faint across the black water. He shifted his stance, wedging his heel into a root not for leverage. "Ranger, anchor," he ordered. The shepherd pressed tighter into him, a live weight grounding his body as he hauled the rope in. Each pull brought nothing visible, just the hiss of water splitting against something caught below. He felt resistance, but not full weight, like the current was sharing custody of whatever clung to the line. "Stay with me," he shouted. "Stay here." Silence stretched until his stomach knotted. Then faint, shredded, "Here." He yanked harder. The glow stick clipped to the rope broke surface 50 feet out, swirling in a pool of white water. Behind it, something pale flashed, then dipped. An arm. The soldier's chest clenched. "I see you." He ripped slack through his hands, feeding the rope to bring the chem light closer. The current fought back, pressing sideways against the driftwood jam. The trapped figure vanished again. Bubbles burst at the surface where they'd been. "Don't go under." His voice cracked louder than he wanted. "Keep your arm through. Lock it." The rope jerked in answer, small, weak, but alive. Ranger barked once, sharp, tail rigid as iron. His head tracked the glow, eyes never leaving it. The soldier dug deeper, knees shaking. He leaned back with all he had, every muscle pulling in rhythm. He'd done this in training with sacks of stone, but this was no stone, this was breath measured in seconds. Finally, the glow slid closer, then closer still, until the eddy spun it within 10 yards of shore. The soldier's heart slammed. He could almost reach. "Ranger, forward," he barked. The shepherd lunged to the waterline, teeth snapping at the rope as if he could haul too. He gripped it, pulling sideways, snarls vibrating through the line. Together, man and dog dragged the weight in. Then, snap. The rope went light in his hands. The current stole the glow stick, sending it spinning away. The chem light bobbed downstream, empty. "No!" The soldier ripped the coil back in, desperate, eyes raking the water. Nothing. Only black rush. Ranger howled, a sound he had never made, a tearing sound, half bark, half scream. His paws slashed the surface, throwing spray, as though he could claw the river open. The soldier froze for a beat, heart hammering. He knew what a rope going light meant. He knew the river's cruelty. But then... "Help!" The voice again. Not downstream. Closer. Off to the right where the bank dipped into a back eddy hidden by reeds. Ranger wheeled, body snapping that way, bark detonating sharp. His hackles stood like knives. The soldier's chest filled with fire. He jammed the rope bag back onto his harness, pulled his knife, and cut a path through the reeds. Water slapped against his knees as he shoved into the eddy. The beam of his headlamp skimmed the surface, and there, half submerged against a log, clinging with blue fingers, was a child. Small face pale as bone, hair plastered to her cheeks, lips shaking. Her eyes met the light and widened. "Please," she whispered. The soldier dropped to his knees in the freezing water. "I've got you." He shoved the rifle high onto his shoulder, reached out one arm, and caught the fabric of her jacket. It tore half loose, but he got her wrist. It was no warmer than the river. "Ranger, back." The dog barked furiously but held at the waterline, pacing, whining, eyes locked on the girl. The soldier hooked her under the arms, lifted with everything he had, and dragged her free of the log. She collapsed against him, coughing river water into his chest plate. "Stay with me," he said, clutching her tight, rising on shaky legs. But as he turned, the current tore sideways, shoving both of them deeper. His boot lost its rude hold. Water surged up to his waist, cold like knives. Ranger screamed again, lunging so hard his leash chain rattled against the harness. He wanted to dive. The soldier staggered, holding the girl against him, one arm high to keep her head above water. "I've got you. Hold me, do you hear? Hold me." Her arms clutched his neck weakly. Her breath rasped against his ear. Behind them, the river growled louder. Logs shifted in the jam. The whole bank seemed to tremble. The soldier knew it, this wasn't over. The river wasn't done. The current bit harder with every step. It wasn't just water anymore, it was weight, force, a living thing wrapping itself around his legs and tearing for the girl. The soldier leaned back, one arm cradling her head above the chop, the other clawing at the reeds for leverage. Roots snapped in his grip, useless. "Ranger," he barked. The shepherd launched forward as far as the leash let him, barking frantic. His body shook with rage at the water, ears pinned flat, foam flecking his muzzle. He clawed the mud at the edge, throwing dirt behind him as if he could haul the river out by sheer will. The soldier felt the girl's tiny hands clutch weakly at his collar. Her lips moved against his chest, barely sound, cold. "I know," he told her, voice sharp but steady. "Stay awake for me. Stay awake." He shifted his stance sideways, using the current's push instead of fighting it head-on. His boots slid across rocks slick with silt. He caught one solid ridge with his heel, anchored there. But then the river roared louder. The driftwood jam above them groaned, logs shifting against each other. The soldier's headlamp caught spray blasting out as the pressure built. One log rolled free, slammed downriver, and spun past his knees with a force that would have broken bone if it hit. "Move now," he hissed. He bent lower, dragging the girl high onto his shoulder, her cough rattling his ear. He lunged toward the bank. His boots slipped once, twice, water taking him waist to chest, cold so deep his ribs locked. Ranger screamed, a sound of desperation. He launched into the shallows, chest slamming the water, teeth snapping at empty current. His leash jerked taut against the anchor point he'd looped earlier. The dog strained until his body trembled, dragging at the chain, refusing to let his soldier disappear. The soldier's arm burned with the weight of the child, but he forced his knees up, step after step. Mud sucked at his boots, tried to pin him. The bank was 6 feet away. Then 5. Behind him, the jam gave a sound like bones breaking. Logs tore free one after another, the current screaming as it swallowed them. The soldier didn't dare look back, but the thunder told him enough, the whole mass was coming downriver. "Now or never," he gasped. Ranger barked wild, voice ragged, then lunged again. His teeth found the soldier's sleeve. The dog pulled with everything he had, anchoring, dragging them that last yard. The soldier shoved forward, body shaking. His boot found the rise of the bank. He staggered upward, mud exploding around his legs. Ranger pulled harder, claws digging ruts as he backpedaled, dragging man and girl both. The soldier collapsed forward onto hands and knees, the girl pressed tight against him. Water poured off them, rivers still reaching like fingers that wouldn't let go. Ranger planted himself in front, chest low, teeth bared, snarling at the water as if he'd fought it back himself. The soldier rolled onto his side, gasping air, holding the girl against him. Her face was chalk white, lips blue. Her chest fluttered shallow. "You're all right," he whispered. He brushed mud from her mouth with his thumb, checked her airway. She coughed again, weak but alive. But the river wasn't finished. The jam fully broke, logs tearing free in a roar that shook the ground. Water surged higher, clawing at the bank. The soldier grabbed his rope bag, clipped the girl's jacket through the harness strap, and hauled both of them higher up the slope. Mud tore under his boots, but he climbed until roots gave purchase. Ranger scrambled beside him, never once looking away from the water. His growl was still rolling, warning the river to stay where it belonged. The soldier dragged them to the first flat ground above floodline. He collapsed to his knees, the girl cradled across his lap, her eyes half-lidded. "Stay with me," he said again, sharp, willing her awake. He slapped her cheek lightly. "Eyes open." She coughed harder this time, water spraying his chest plate. Then a sound, half sob, half breath. The soldier exhaled relief, chest heaving. He ripped the foil blanket from his pack and wrapped her in it, tucking it tight under her chin. Ranger pressed close, his body heat against both of them. But below, the water claimed the bank entirely, tearing at roots, carrying whole branches downstream. The place they'd stood seconds earlier vanished under boiling black. The soldier stared at it once, jaw locked. Then back at the girl, at her eyes fighting to stay open. "This isn't over," he muttered. "We're not clear yet." Because rescue was more than pulling her from the water. Now came the race against cold, against shock. And the road back to safety was still dark, wet, and long. The girl's body shook in small, violent tremors against his chest. Her teeth chattered so hard it was more rattle than sound. Her soaked jacket clung heavy, dripping into the foil blanket he'd wrapped her in. The soldier pressed 2 fingers gently to her throat. Faint pulse, thready, but there. He pressed her wrist against his cheek, cold as stone. He knew the clock. In this temperature, soaked through, a child's body could fail in less than half an hour. He pulled his field knife, slashed the blanket wider, and wrapped her tighter, sealing the heat in. His own body leaned around her, sheltering her from wind. "Stay with me, kid," he murmured. "Keep your eyes open." "Cold," she whispered again. "I know. That's why we move." Ranger circled twice, hackles still bristled, nose testing the air. His ears twitched hard, river behind, forest ahead. He growled low toward the trees, not water. Something out there put him on edge. The soldier followed his gaze. The tree-line pressed black against the sky, dripping from the rain. No light, no sound but the hiss of water retreating. But he trusted the dog's ears more than his own. "All right," he muttered. He studied the terrain. Back toward the bridge was safer footing, but the path hugged the river the whole way. With the jam gone, water would eat the bank, one slip, and they'd be right back in the current. Through the forest, a maintenance trail cut across to the road. It was shorter, but tangled and dark. Carrying the girl would be slow, and if something blocked that path, turning back would waste precious minutes. Ranger whined, pawing at the tree-line. His decision was clear. The soldier looked down at the girl. Her eyes fluttered closed, lips blue. He tapped her cheek lightly. "Hey, stay with me. We're walking. You hear me?" She made no sound, just a faint exhale. He shifted her onto his back, snug in the blanket, arms wrapped around his shoulders. Her small fingers clutched weakly at his vest straps. He clipped her in with a carabiner. She wasn't slipping, not even if he went down. Ranger, trail. The dog snapped the command, head low, nose guiding. He moved into the tree-line without hesitation, tail rigid, checking left and right. The soldier followed, boots slipping on mud before hitting firmer ground. Branches clawed at his arms, but the cover cut the wind. The forest swallowed them quick, the sound of the river fading behind into a dull roar. Every few steps he spoke, his voice steady, for the girl's sake as much as his own. "We're moving. You're safe. Dog's got point. Just breathe for me." Behind him, a faint moan answered, "Alive." He pressed on, heart lifting a fraction. The trail narrowed to a deer path, winding between wet brush and fallen limbs. Ranger darted ahead, then froze, ears pricked. He sniffed the air hard, then looked back, eyes catching the soldier's lamp beam. A low growl rumbled. "What is it, boy?" The soldier froze, listening. At first, nothing. Just drip of rain through branches. Then, snap. A branch under weight, not wind. The girl stirred faintly on his back, murmuring, "Someone?" "Quiet," he whispered. His rifle came up one-handed, the other steadying her weight. Ranger bared his teeth at the dark. He didn't bark, didn't lunge, just stood taut, vibrating with warning. The soldier scanned the shadows. No movement. No shape. Just trees closing in tight, the path winding out of sight. "Eyes forward," he muttered. To the girl. To the dog. To himself. He pressed onward, faster now. Ranger led, silent, but every few seconds his head snapped left or right, ears twitching. Something was out there. Minutes bled. The soldier's legs burned under the girl's weight, but he didn't slow. Every second counted. Hypothermia was the real enemy, but so was whatever followed them through the dark. At last, the trees thinned. The faint cut of gravel appeared ahead, the maintenance trail. Beyond it, through the dripping leaves, a distant gleam, the faint orange wash of a highway lamp. Relief touched him, brief and thin. "Almost there," he whispered. But Ranger stopped dead, blocking the path. His tail lowered, his body crouched. A growl built low in his chest. His eyes fixed on something just beyond the light. The soldier froze. Then, snap. Another branch, closer this time. Not the river. Not the forest. Someone. Ranger's growl was so deep it rattled the soldier's boot soles. The shepherd stood crouched low, tail stiff, head angled toward the tree-line. Every muscle in his body said the same thing, someone's there. The soldier shifted his stance, rifle raised one-handed, the other arm cradling the child tighter across his back. She stirred weakly, breath shallow, head pressed against his shoulder. "Stay with me, kid," he whispered. His voice was steady, but his jaw clenched hard. The forest hushed around them. Even the rain seemed to hold back, droplets tapping slower, softer. Then, crack. A branch, heavy underfoot. Not wind. Not deer. Deliberate. Ranger snapped his head left, barking once, sharp as a gunshot. His teeth bared, ears flat, eyes burning into the dark. The soldier whispered low, "Show yourself." No answer. He slid a step sideways, weight balanced, keeping the girl tucked in and rifle covering the trees. The beam of his headlamp swept across dripping trunks, tangled brush, empty path. Nothing moved. Nothing visible. But he knew the rhythm of footsteps. Whoever was out there was staying just far enough back to let the forest do the hiding. Ranger barked again, lower this time, then looked back at his soldier with a glance that said everything, "We are not alone." The soldier's stomach tightened. This wasn't a search anymore. This was a tale. "Trail out," he whispered. His voice was meant for the dog, but for himself too. The only choice was forward. He pressed on, boots crunching wet gravel as they stepped onto the wider path. Ranger walked 10 feet ahead, nose sweeping, body tense. He didn't bark again, but every so often his ears flicked back, catching sound the soldier couldn't. The child coughed once, weak, muffled into his collar. He murmured, "Easy. Just breathe. We're close." He glanced up. Through the dripping canopy, the faint orange wash of highway lamps glowed brighter. Rescue was near, but so was whatever followed. Behind them, faint and slow, another crunch of gravel answered their steps. The soldier froze. His breath misted. Ranger spun on a dime, facing back, growl rolling into a bark. The sound echoed down the trail like a flare. The soldier called into the dark, voice sharp. "Identify yourself." "Law enforcement." "Step out now." Silence. Then, just barely, another step. He raised his rifle, centering on the black cut of trail. His finger tightened on the guard. His lamp beam swept the gravel, the trunks, the brush. Still nothing. Whoever was there had learned how to use cover. The soldier's instincts screamed at him. This wasn't some lost hiker. This was deliberate. "Ranger, close." The dog obeyed, falling back to his side, body vibrating with readiness. His hackles were up, ears rigid, teeth clicking once as if impatient. The soldier adjusted the girl on his back, securing her with the carabiner again. She moaned softly, her small hands tightening on his vest straps. He whispered down to her, "You're safe. I promise." Then, to himself, "You'd better make that true." He pressed forward faster, boots eating distance, keeping his rifle trained back in quick sweeps. Ranger stayed close, nose darting, every few seconds snapping his head back as though confirming the shadow hadn't slipped closer. The orange glow of the highway grew brighter. He could see the faint outline of a guardrail through the trees ahead. 10 minutes, maybe less, until pavement. Then, behind them again, the sound of someone breaking into a jog. Gravel crunching faster. Ranger exploded into a full snarl, lunging toward the sound. His bark ripped the silence apart. The soldier spun, dropping to one knee for balance, rifle dead center on the dark. "Stop where you are." "I said stop." Nothing moved into the light. Nothing showed. The steps cut off. But the forest held its breath again, and every hair on the back of his neck stood. The soldier hissed low, "Whoever you are, you've got one chance to back off." The child whimpered softly, clinging tighter. Ranger's growl deepened, so low it sounded like thunder rolling under the earth. The soldier waited, finger brushing the trigger. 1 breath. 2. Then, from deep in the dark, just beyond his lamp's reach, came a voice. A whisper. "Don't stop walking." The soldier froze. Ranger barked like a gunshot. But when the soldier scanned again, there was no one, only trees swaying in the damp wind. The forest thinned, branches clawing less, the faint hum of a highway spilling into the air. Sodium lamps glowed orange through the dripping canopy, so close the soldier could almost taste asphalt. But the sound behind hadn't stopped. Every step he took, a second one followed, just far enough to stay hidden, just close enough to remind him. Ranger paced tight to his thigh now, not running ahead. His growl never left, a low motor vibrating his chest. Every few yards he snapped his head back, lips peeled, teeth catching light. The soldier whispered through clenched teeth, mostly to steady himself, "Not far. Not far. Just pavement." The girl whimpered softly against his back. Her arms were locked around his vest straps, her face pressed into his shoulder. She was barely conscious, but alive. He adjusted her weight higher, then swung the rifle back toward the shadows. "Last warning," he called. His voice carried through the dripping trees. Step out or stay down. I won't say it again. The forest gave no answer. Until, crack. Another branch. Closer now. Ranger barked savage, lunging forward 2 steps, leash taut. His body shook with rage, teeth snapping at the dark. The soldier stopped dead, chest heaving. Ranger, hold. The shepherd froze, muscles rigid, hackles tall. His growl filled the silence like thunder rolling under the dirt. The soldier's eyes swept the black wall of trees. No movement. No shape. But the sound of breathing carried faint, too faint to be wind. He exhaled once, hard. He couldn't keep dragging the girl through a cat and mouse. Hypothermia didn't wait. His mind split 2 ways. Drop the girl in the brush, confront whatever followed. Or push hard for the highway and risk the shadow trailing them all the way. He shifted the rifle, voice low. Ranger, guard. The dog planted at his side, rigid, eyes burning into the treeline. The soldier bent his knees, lowered his voice to the girl. You're going to hear some noise. Don't be afraid. You hold tight to me. Her lips moved weakly against his shoulder. Cold. I know. Just a little more. He angled forward, boots digging hard into the gravel path, forcing speed. Ranger matched stride, body tense but silent now, his focus ahead. The glow of the highway grew brighter. He could see the guardrail cut through the trees. Then, footsteps behind again. Faster. Jogging. Ranger whipped back, barking violent. His body lunged so hard the leash chain rattled against his harness. The soldier spun halfway, rifle sight locking on the dark. That's it. His voice cracked. Show yourself. Silence. Then another step. His finger tightened on the trigger. And then the voice again. The same whisper, carried thin through the trees. Don't stop walking. The soldier froze, breath stilled. The words weren't a threat. They weren't mockery. They were a command. Ranger barked louder, snapping at air, desperate to drive the sound back. His body shook with fury, but his eyes flicked once toward the soldier, choice. The soldier clenched his jaw. He forced his feet forward again. Copy that, he muttered under his breath. The trees broke open. Gravel gave way to asphalt. The orange lamps burned overhead. The hum of traffic carried faint from the overpass down the road. Ranger bolted the last yards, dragging the soldier into the glow. The dog spun back immediately, placing his body between soldier and forest, teeth bared, snarling into the black. The soldier backed onto the shoulder, chest heaving, rifle still trained on the treeline. Nothing emerged. The child stirred faintly. Her whisper scraped his ear. Safe? He swallowed hard, scanning the shadows one more time. The forest stared back, empty. For now, he said. His voice was rough, but steady. Ranger growled once more, then fell silent, still staring into the dark. The soldier stood on the shoulder, boots grinding wet gravel, the hum of the highway carrying faint in the distance. Orange sodium lamps lit the slick asphalt in fractured pools, rain still hissing as it fell. The world should have felt safe out here in the open. But his gut said different. Ranger confirmed it. The shepherd planted himself between soldier and forest, head low, teeth bared, growl rolling like a motor that wouldn't shut off. His eyes never left the treeline. The child shifted weakly on the soldier's back. Her voice rasped against his ear. It's bright. Stay with me, he whispered. His breath misted in the cold. Almost done. Just hold on. He adjusted her weight, cinched the foil blanket tighter around her, then raised the radio again. Static hissed. The ridge still killed signal. His throat tightened. He scanned the highway. Empty. No headlights. No engines. Just wet silence stretching down both ways. Ranger barked once, violent, explosive. The soldier swung his rifle back toward the forest instantly. His headlamp cut through the trees, beam shaking slightly with his pulse. Nothing. Only black trunks and dripping leaves. But the air was wrong. Too still. He whispered sharp, "I know you're there." The forest said nothing. Ranger's growl deepened, ears pricked. His body trembled with the strain of holding back. The soldier adjusted the girl again. He couldn't wait here. Every minute in the cold was a thief. He needed movement. He stepped onto the asphalt, boots squealing against the slick surface. Ranger backed with him, never turning his back on the tree-line. The glow of the highway lamps cast their shadows long across the wet black. Halfway across the road, the girl stirred again. Safe? He swallowed hard. Not yet. They reached the opposite shoulder. The soldier paused, crouched low, and laid the girl briefly on his pack. He checked her airway, pressed his fingers to her wrist. Pulse weaker, but there. Her lips quivered soundlessly. He tore open his trauma kit, ripped a heat pack, cracked it until it hissed, and slid it under the foil at her chest. Stay warm. That's an order. Her eyes flickered once, then shut again. Ranger barked sharp, snapping his head toward the tree-line across the road. His entire body stiffened. His hackles rose in a wave. The soldier spun, rifle tracking, sight locked on the dark woods. And then, he saw it. A shape. Not clear, not full. Just a darker cut against the black. Tall. Motionless. Standing between two dripping pines. His chest tightened. He called out, voice raw. Step forward. Hands where I can see them. The shape didn't move. Ranger snarled, teeth clashing. His body lunged 2 inches before the soldier's command froze him. The soldier's finger tightened against the trigger guard. His breath fogged white. He shouted again, harder. Now. Hands up. Nothing. Then, like the night itself bending, the shape melted backward, swallowed into the trees. The soldier's stomach dropped. He whispered low to the dog, not gone. Just hiding. Ranger growled agreement, tail stiff, ears tracking. The soldier scooped the girl back onto his shoulders, stood, and turned toward the faint orange wash farther down the highway. He had to move. But every instinct screamed at him that the shadow hadn't stayed in the woods. It was pacing them. Waiting for the right moment. And he had miles of blacktop still to cover. The soldier adjusted the girl higher on his back and stepped onto the open stretch of blacktop. Her head lolled weakly against his shoulder, breath shallow but present. Foil blanket rustled softly with each stride. Ranger trotted tight at his heel, ears pinned forward, hackles locked high. Every few seconds he cut a glance left, then right. Each time his growl deepened. The soldier didn't need to look to know why. Something paced them in the trees. Both sides. He kept his eyes on the glowing orange wash ahead, the faint promise of an overpass, maybe help. His rifle stayed low but ready, the sling taut against his shoulder. Boots slapped waterlogged pavement. The night answered with a hush of rain and another sound. Step. Not his. Not Ranger's. Something softer, out of sync, yet constant. The soldier's jaw clenched. He forced his voice steady, talking for the girl, for himself. We're moving. Almost there. Just a little farther. She stirred faintly. Cold. I know. He shifted her tighter. I've got you. Ranger snapped his head right, teeth flashing. His bark tore out raw and savage, echoing off the guardrail. He lunged 3 feet toward the treeline, leash chain clattering. The soldier froze mid-step, rifle snapping up. His headlamp beam slashed across dripping branches. Nothing. Just empty black trunks. But the sound of a retreating footstep whispered back. Ranger barked again, spinning left now, teeth bared at the opposite treeline. His growl rolled into another violent bark, deeper this time. The soldier pivoted, beam slicing across the opposite side. Again, nothing. Only shadows. He exhaled sharp. His voice cracked into the rain. You want me, then step out. Otherwise you keep your distance. Silence. Then, crack. A branch broke deeper in the woods. Left side. Followed by another. Right side. The soldier's chest tightened. Whoever, or whatever, was out there wasn't alone. Keep moving, he whispered, forcing his boots forward. Ranger hesitated, then obeyed, still growling with each step. The rhythm built, soldier's boots on wet asphalt, child's ragged breaths, Ranger's low rumble, and always, in the trees, a mirrored step. The soldier's eyes stayed forward, scanning the glow ahead. Every instinct screamed to turn and fire into the dark, but he couldn't waste a round on shadows. Not with the girl depending on him to keep moving. Minutes dragged. The overpass loomed closer, orange lamps buzzing faint. Relief was so near he could taste it. Then, without warning, the whisper came again. This time not behind. Not from one side. From both. Don't stop walking. The soldier froze mid-step, blood turning ice. Ranger went berserk, barking so hard it shook his chest. He spun left, then right, lunging at both treelines, leash jerking tight. The child stirred against his back, whimpering. Who's that? The soldier whispered, raw and final, no one that matters. Hold on. He forced his boots forward, pace faster now. Every step splashed water. Every breath burned. Ranger stayed locked to his thigh, barking in bursts, eyes flashing from side to side. The treelines answered with branches cracking, footfalls keeping perfect rhythm. And the whisper chased them, every 20 paces, always the same. Don't stop walking. The soldier's boots slapped waterlogged asphalt as the overpass rose above him, steel girders dripping rain. Concrete pillars cut the orange light into broken segments. Shadows crawled between each beam. Ranger froze at the first pillar, body braced low, a growl rolling so deep it shook the wet air. His hackles were rigid wires, tail stiff, ears aimed at the treeline. The soldier shifted the girl on his back. Her head sagged against his shoulder, breath shallow but still there. He bent low, pressing her tighter. Almost there, kid. Hold on. His eyes swept both sides of the highway. The trees pressed close, black walls dripping with rain. In between the trunks, movement. Not one. More. Shapes sliding, never showing full, always just past the beam's reach. He whispered through his teeth, they're closing in. Ranger barked once, savage. His body lunged 2 feet forward, straining the leash so hard the chain clattered against his harness. He spun back, barking left, then right. He wasn't warning anymore, he was daring. The soldier raised his rifle. You followed long enough. Step out now. His voice cracked against the concrete. Show yourself. Silence. Then, footsteps. Not behind. Not just in the trees. On the asphalt. Soft. Slow. From both sides at once. Ranger went berserk, snarling, barking, twisting his body left then right. The sound filled the hollow under the bridge, a war drum of rage. The soldier dropped to one knee for balance, rifle locked on the space between pillars. His lamp cut across wet concrete. Empty. Then, closer. A splash in a puddle. Another. The soldier's fingers slid against the trigger guard. Not one more step. The girl stirred faintly. Her whisper brushed his ear. "Raw, who's there?" He whispered back, sharp and final, "No one you need to see." The footsteps stopped. For a long moment, nothing moved. Rain tapped the concrete. The child's weak breath rasped against his collar. Ranger's growl burned steady. Then the voice came again. Not from one place this time. From all directions. "Don't stop walking." The soldier's chest locked. The words echoed under the overpass, layered, bending off concrete like they were inside his head. Ranger screamed a bark so violent it echoed 3 times, shaking dust loose from the girders. He lunged into the dark, teeth snapping air. Shapes flickered in the corner of the soldier's sight. Tall, too still, pressed into the black cup between trees and concrete. Watching. Waiting. The soldier steadied his breath. "You want to keep following?" His voice carried sharp. "Then follow me into the light." He rose, shifted the girl higher, and pressed forward under the overpass. Ranger glued to his thigh, snarling at every shadow that dared move. Behind him, the footsteps started again. Closer. Faster. The soldier broke into a run, boots pounding slick asphalt. The girl clung weakly to his back, foil blankets snapping in the wind of his movement. Each breath from her chest was shallow, but steady enough to push him harder. Ranger sprinted at his side, every muscle coiled, barking in bursts that echoed under the bridge. He didn't slow, didn't look back, but his ears stayed pinned to the dark, listening for the pursuit. The overpass beams flashed past overhead. Each one cut the light into stuttering frames, orange glow, black shadow, orange glow again. The soldier's rifle bobbed against his chest, ready but secondary now. His focus was forward. And then, through the rain haze ahead, red and blue. Faint. Flashing. A patrol unit parked half a mile down the highway, lights cutting through mist. Relief surged like a tide, but his body didn't ease. His instincts screamed louder now, the way they always did when you were almost home. Behind him, the footsteps hadn't stopped. Faster now. Matching his sprint. Ranger barked so hard his throat tore, then swung behind mid-stride, snarling back into the dark. His body never broke pace, but his fury was aimed over his shoulder. The soldier didn't turn. He couldn't. Not with the girl. He pumped his legs harder, breath ragged, chest burning. The highway lights smeared across wet blacktop. Rain sprayed off each step. Then the voice came again. Not faint this time. Not distant. At his shoulder. "Don't stop walking." The soldier's blood froze. The words were so close he could feel the breath of them, though nothing touched him. Ranger lost it, wheeling mid-stride with a bark like gunfire. His teeth snapped at empty air inches from the soldier's arm. The dog's rage shook his whole body, but he never broke formation, still sprinting, still guarding. The soldier growled through clenched teeth, "Then watch me not stop." He forced his legs harder, every muscle screaming. The red and blue glow grew larger. Shapes formed, 2 deputies outside the cruiser, scanning the road. One raised a hand, shouting something lost in the rain. The soldier roared back, voice cracking, "Medic! Hypothermia! Now!" The girl stirred faintly, lips parting in a whisper. "Safe?" He swallowed hard, throat raw. "Yes. You're safe." But even as he said it, the whisper came one last time. So faint it might have been the wind. "Don't let me in." The soldier stumbled, boots skidding, but didn't fall. He forced his stride steady, pushed the words down deep. Ranger's final bark ripped out savage, defiant. His hackles flattened as the cruiser's lights swallowed them, as if even he knew the line between shadow and safety had been crossed. The deputies rushed forward, grabbing the girl from the soldier's back, wrapping her in fresh blankets, voices urgent. The soldier bent double, hands on his knees, chest heaving. Rain poured off his helmet. Ranger pressed against his leg, chest heaving, ears still pinned back. His growl faded into silence, but his eyes stayed locked on the dark highway they'd left behind. The soldier finally straightened, wiping rain and sweat from his face. He turned once, scanning the stretch of wet black under the overpass. Empty. Only rain, only night. He whispered to himself, "Lo." We kept walking. And for the first time in hours, the forest gave no answer.